priority. You can identify if you're eating French food when you literally can't enjoy the meal because your brain is always doing the calculus of whether it was worth the money. Japanese. I love Japanese, and admittedly, I think sushi in particular is the perfect date food. Light, delicious, and I can demonstrate my high-quality hunter-gatherer genes through adroit chopstick handling and being able to swallow whole nigiri with zero gag reflex. Another excellent Japanese food is ramen, which is the ultimate min-max dish. It's either 2 days of cooking chicken, pork, and fish in perfect balance and temperature, 3 days making a cured egg, a lifetime of mastering the oils and toppings ratio, and then pairing it with the ideal noodle texture. Or it's opening the package and eating the spicy brick. Mexican food, as it's known by us pigmentally challenged folk, is when you fry anything and serve it with chipotle mayo on a flour tortilla. I also know the word salsa, which is the Mexican word for homemade ketchup. Italian. There are currently 3 known Italian foods: pasta, pizza, and gelato. We hope that one day science may discover more. Spanish. Spanish food is basically the circus version of other food. Chorizo is a spicy hot dog, churro is a deconstructed chocolate donut, sangria is party wine, paella is fried rice jumbo shrimp edition, and gazpacho is what the try-hard kid in your home ec class comes up with when you ask for Mexican ketchup. Greek. When I think of Greek food, I think of small amounts of tasty things being baked in thin pastry and then cut into geometric shapes. Spanakopita, bugatsa, a bunch of things I can't pronounce, and baklava, which are tasty honey nut diamonds.
What?
And you might be thinking,
What the fuck? What?
excuse me, baklava is actually Turkish. But that doesn't fit the thin pastry narrative, so here we are. American food.
Wow. What a fitting segue from cultural genocide in China to what Casually Explained just did. Wow.
Food is often known in the United States as food, and it's characterized by extremely large portion sizes, both in the food you're being served and in the guy barbecuing it. All American food is designed to be eaten with 2 hands, but real patriots do it with 1. Hot dog, hamburger, rack of ribs, crawfish broil, BLT, turkey leg, lobster po' boy, chicken wings, Philly cheesesteak, Chicago deep dish. If a nice black lady calls you sweetie and you're suddenly wearing Crocs and a bowling shirt, it's definitely American food. Canadian. You've heard of potatoes and gravy, you've heard of cheesy potatoes, but here comes the remix. And that's what we've contributed in the last 150 years. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. British cuisine is modeled after the food your 8-year-old nephew comes up with when he asks if he can cook you dinner. Black pudding, beans on toast, toast sandwich, toad in the hole, mushy peas, jellied eels, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but he ran out of bread and used clotted cream instead of peanut butter. Luckily for my nephew, is a member of the Commonwealth. You know I'd do anything for the Queen. German. One of my favorite German foods is a good old lager beer, which they serve.
Ew, by the way. Except for that last thing seems dope.
Luckily for my nephew, is a member of the Commonwealth. You know I'd do anything for the Queen. German. One of my favorite German foods is a good old lager beer, which they serve in great excess at Oktoberfest, a famous festival that Germany holds every, you guessed it, September. Other classic German foods involve taking delicious classics and making them a weird shape. Take, for example, wide chicken, beef Rollington, and of course, twisty bagel. Chinese food actually has no proper name in English and can only be communicated through the number next to it on the menu. Thankfully, Chinese food has thrived in Western countries despite everyone thinking it was bad to eat MSG and raw pangolin for literally no reason. Indian cuisine is rich in heritage and incredibly diverse. Most Indian restaurants have such expansive menus, it can take minutes to find and order the butter chicken. Another Indian staple is naan, or what Westerners call, puffy tortilla. To be honest, I don't actually know the difference. Middle Eastern. When I think of Middle Eastern food, I think of shawarma, which I do often because there are literally no kebab places in my whole city. For those unfamiliar, kebab is the international cuisine of it's 3 a.m. and the clubs are closed. While I'm not sure how authentic it is when the guy puts french fries in it, you know I'm not complaining. There's also other great Middle Eastern bangers like tzatziki and hummus that are also best eaten drunk and alone with a spoon. Now you might be saying, excuse me, tzatziki is actually Greek. Well, okay, buddy, if you think you can claim this one too, then your ego's more inflated than Turkey's currency, so quit
Okay, there we go. Okay, he dialed it back. Okay,
bickering, or else no one gets tzatziki. Scandinavian, Nordic.
Okay.
Frankly, the only Scandinavian restaurant
it.
I've ever heard of is IKEA. And while the Swedish meatballs are pretty good, I'm also not so sure about the authenticity. Because, like, if you look at the recipe, it says
Swedish meatballs are also a Turkish invention. Right? Isn't that true? Yeah. Swedish meatballs are literally Turkish. Are you guys ready for that shit? Your national fucking dish. Your national dish is literally Turkish. Another fucking Turkish invention is the Austrian pastries, the crescent-shaped pastries. That was because of the Turkish invasion or the Ottoman invasion. That's part of the reason why they have those like crescent-shaped. The English national dish is literally Indian. Yeah. Called kufte in Serbia. It's kufte, yeah. You're starting to sound like my Opa claiming everything is German. Swedish meatballs are Turkish? My whole life has been a lie. Sweden, land of IKEA and social welfare, has something to tell the world. News that could shock the palate. Swedish meatballs are the signature national dish, are really Turkish. The country's national Twitter account made the announcement with a tweet this week. Swedish meatballs are actually based on a recipe King Charles the 12th brought home from Turkey in the early 18th century, the tweet said. Let's stick to the facts. Turkish media called the Swedish tweet a confession. That's so funny. Anyway.
Beef, pork, breadcrumbs, a couple egg yolks. And you're like, that sounds like a regular meatball. So after that, I was like, okay, so what is Scandinavian food? So I looked it up and I got steak and mushrooms, pancakes. And that was pretty sus. So I decided to really go in. And then I found stuff like ragmunk and tumbarora, which, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'd eat a hot dog in any form, but if you guys want to go international, you might want to consider some rebranding. Like, just imagining, like at the United Nations meeting, it's lunchtime, and the Italian guy takes out a slice of pizza, the German guy takes out a beer and a pretzel, and then the Swedish guy takes out his lunch bag and thinks to himself, they're going to be so jealous. Eastern European. When I think of Eastern European cuisine, I think of three words: babushka, potatoes, and poverty. And as someone with Irish ancestry, that definitely comes off as a hard flex. Thankfully, instead
The funniest part about it is that casually explained, ironically, is a product of all forms of British colonial expansion. My man is Irish, grew up in Australia, moved to Canada. Like literally all parts of his fucking life and his heritage is by getting owned by the British. Every part of it. He's like originally Australian, Irish Australian, and now lives in fucking Canada.
of grandmas and potatoes, at least I get capitalism and cultural appropriation. Exactly how I like it. Australian. Australian cuisine is the most white bread food in the world. Breakfast, Vegemite on white bread. Lunch, sausage on white bread. Dinner, meat pie. Dessert, hundreds and thousands on white bread. They do admittedly have absolutely fantastic fish and chips, because they can walk 100 meters to the beach, scoop Dory up from the barrier reef, and flash fire right in front of her family that's already forgotten about her. I also give a shout out to pavlova, which might possibly be from New Zealand, but my mom makes it and she likes it when I put her in the videos. Vietnamese. Vietnamese food can be identified by the restaurant being named after some type of pun involving the word pho. Pho sure, pho ever, pho true, pho you, etc. But in reality, the word is actually pronounced pho, as in farted. Guys, I waited 4 years for that one. Sorry.
Oh,
Latin
God.
American. Latin American food is great because so much of it is fried. Empanada, fried hot pocket. Plantains? No, you fool. It's not a banana. It's a potato in disguise, and you fry this bad boy twice. Regular banana, also fried. Besides that, the only other Latin American food I know is ayahuasca. I know about ayahuasca for two reasons. A, I live on the West Coast, and B, I've listened to Joe Rogan, and my name is Jamie. African food. Korean food. The most well-known Korean foods are kimchi and Korean
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, I almost died. Okay. First of all, he's way too fucking white, dude. He is way too fucking white to know about African food. And secondly, I admittedly have only had Nigerian food because of my unfortunate proximity to Nigerians in my immediate group of friends. And the reason why I'm saying unfortunate is because depending on what restaurant you go to, you can have a horrifying experience with Nigerian food. Everyone always says Ethiopian. I've never had it. Now, of course, jollof rice is fucking a banger, okay? Very good. Very good overall. It reminds me of you know, like the salçalı pilav that we eat in Turkey. It's like rice with tomatoes, right? Like with the tomato paste. Okay? So that shit slaps. Except for the fact that when I did go to I have a fun story of me going with Tomei to one of like the 3 or 2 Nigerian restaurants that is not even a fucking restaurant. What is it called? Something market, where Tomei debated me into eating like the worst parts of the fucking animal that he himself did not consume. We went to the Nigerian restaurant. I was the first to get there. I'm the only white person within like a 1 mile radius. They're looking at me like, "Are you lost?" I'm like, "No, I'm not lost. I swear I have." Like, this is not a restaurant. Like, it doesn't look like a restaurant. It doesn't look like a restaurant from the outside. I don't know how they have a license. They might not. Okay. So there's no fucking way that they, like, you as a white person would be able to find this place in the middle of fucking, I think it was in Inglewood or some shit, where like there is no way you would be able to find this restaurant, because it doesn't look like a restaurant. It literally looks like a house. Okay. And when you walk in, they're like, "Oh, dude, there's no way. Like, this dude is definitely lost." And wait, what? Hassan went to some random Nigerian person's house and sat down at the dinner table all confused? No, I actually looked it up later. There's like a Yelp for it too. It's pretty funny. If I find the name of the place, we will look at the Yelp reviews together, because you'll understand my frustrations. So you walk in. You talking about Nkechi Market? Oh, it might be. It had market in its name. That place slaps though. Wait, hold up. Is this it? You know what? I think visual help will help you understand a little bit better exactly what I'm talking about. Yes! Wait, is this it? No, this isn't it. It did have market in its name too, though. It did have market in its name. Pretty sure. I don't think this is it, though. Oh, wait, where is it? This is San Francisco, maybe? No. It could be it. I don't know. Hold on. Let me pull it up. This was like a couple years ago when I went with Tomei. Oh my God, they have an online menu and everything. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find fucking photos of this place so you get a better understanding. Yeah, I mean, this is it, I think. Anyway. So this is it. I mean, it's not like this though. I don't know. Actually, maybe this is like, it could be a different restaurant, honestly. Nkechi African Cafe, is it? Hold on. I mean, that's the same one that you guys just showed. I need to show you a photo from the outside of it. Like, I swear to God, you would not think that this is like a restaurant. Maybe it is. Maybe it is African Cafe. Maybe it is that one. I don't remember it looking this this large though. It looks like way more spacious. Street view on Google. Oh yeah, no. I think this is it. Yep. Never mind. This is it. Here's an article on it. No scams at Nkechi, a prince of a Nigerian restaurant. Yeah, but it doesn't show. Okay, I need the street view on it. No reviews on Google. That's on purpose. Okay? That's literally on purpose. I promise you that's on purpose. You do not understand. Like one. The food was good, but the customer service was terrible. The young man that helped us had no business working there. We didn't feel comfortable at all in the restaurant. On top of the restaurant being in a super sketchy location. Inglewood is practically all sketchy. God damn, dude. This is a black dude writing this, by the way, so don't immediately rush to assume that it's a white person writing it. The white person that wrote stuff like, no, dude, listen. If you're a white person, you don't know that this restaurant exists, okay? I'm telling you. Like there is a barrier that makes this restaurant invisible to white people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you sure it wasn't? Yeah, I think it might be. I think it was this place. Like, you do not see it. Like, white people drive by it and probably every day they drive by it and never think that this is a real restaurant. Yeah, I don't know if this is it, honestly, because I remember it having a parking lot in front of it too. I took a photo with it. I remember it having a parking lot in front of it. So maybe it's not this. I live in Inglewood. It's not that bad. No, Inglewood's fucking dope. I don't have a problem with Inglewood. But like the white people that go here are. You took a photo. Go get the photo. Yeah. Who will find the photo? It's with me, Tomei, and Cyrus. I think we're like hanging outside of it. What doesn't have a parking lot in front of it in LA? Radio Africa Kitchen. Minor reflection shows the parking lot. No, this doesn't show a parking lot at all. It shows sidewalk. Anyway, the Nigio Market, maybe? Echo Kitchen burned down. Wait, really? I once ate African food inside an Afro shop. Wasn't even close to being a restaurant. Okay. There's parking lot right there on the left. No, it wasn't on the left. There was definitely a parking lot in front of it. Picture taker is standing in. Oh yeah, you're right. He is standing in front of a parking lot. Maybe. Yes, dude. I think this is it. Yes, dude. Yes. Yes, dude. Yes. You found it. You fucking found it, dude. Did it say virgin human hair? Wait, where? Where did it say that? Go back to the street sign. Virgin human hair, extensions and wigs. Oh my god. Maybe there's an interest on the side and that's what you're thinking of. So, anyway, so I went here with Tomei. It is Veronica's kitchen, I think. I went here with Tomei, and this motherfucker, I'm like, yo, what do I get? Like, I don't know what to eat here. I already came in early. They looked at me. They looked at me like I got lost. Yep. This is it. Oh, I didn't go with Cyrus. I was wrong. Anyway. We did go to Veronica's kitchen. This is the front of it. Like, anyway, so we go here. No, the food I had was really good. The food I had, the jollof rice was really good. Okay? But then he also was like, in the plantains or I don't know if they're like, this is good. This is dank as fuck. You got fufu? I think it was fufu. I go, what should I get? He goes, plantains? That's how you're supposed to say it. Not plantain. Plantain or plantain. Both are correct depending on which country you're talking about. Fufu means Jergov and Samoan? Okay, whatever. I don't know what the fuck I had, but it was basically, wait, dish with goat meat cost 2 extra. So I had the fucking, I had the jollof rice, right? I had the plantain with mixed meat, and I think it was, fufu pounded yam. I think it was the edikanikon, maybe. Okay? I don't know what it was, but it definitely wasn't the okra. So I got something that was like basically fucking like animal. I hate okra. It was like all different parts of the animal that you normally would not eat, like mixed meat, pretty much, because that's what this motherfucker told me to get. And I'm like, why didn't you get it? Well, I found out why he didn't get it. He got the regular chicken, and he made me get this like the fucking animal toenails and shit. I don't know how to describe it. Like offals? I don't know what it was, dude. It was crazy. I don't like okra. Fried okra is like manageable, but he basically made me get like mixed meat pretty much. And listen, I love kokoreç, okay? I'm a big fan of sheep intestines. I love eating sheep intestines. It's my favorite fucking thing. But I promise you this shit like it was just not a part of the animal that I could eat. It was like mystery meat, dude. Hot dogs and saucisses are made of that. Yeah, except hot dogs and sausages are fucking pumped full of like they're grinded down until they're basically a paste. And also on top of that, they're pumped full of fucking spices that you don't even know what that is. Yeah, it was pig's feet and shit, I think. Maybe. Anyway. How bad you shit after all that? I don't remember. I don't think it was anything that bad. My constitution is fucking really solid. But like I said, white people tongue? No, it's not fucking white people tongue. What the fuck do you mean? I just said I love kokoreç. Like, what are you talking about, white people tongue? Yeah, it's basically like eating unprocessed hot dog parts. Regardless. So that was my experience with Nigerian food, and it is definitely not for everybody. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say is it's not for everyone. It's not, except for the jollof rice, which is very good, pretty dank, and also the fried bananas, obviously, also very dank, or plantains. But like, you would never think this is a restaurant, is what I was trying to say. From the outside, going inside did not change your perspective that it's like not really, it does not really resemble a restaurant. But it was a lot of fun. Incorrect. Jollof, plantains, and fufu are for everyone. Okay, that's what I'm saying. But the mixed meat part of it is not exactly for everybody. That was what I was trying to say. We got on this like crazy stun lock. Sorry about that. That was my experiences with at least one country in Africa as far as African food goes. But that's it.
Barbecue. Korean barbecue is usually a buffet-style restaurant where you get to cook everything yourself on a little tabletop barbecue, while kimchi is the name I call the chairman of North Korea when I pinch his fat little cheeks. Now, at this point, you're probably saying, oh no, there's 30 seconds of the video left and he hasn't said my country. But unfortunately, this isn't the local weather report birthday shout out, so I can't get everyone. If it makes you feel any better, you can scroll down and read all the comments that are like, that video was funny and accurate. Except for that one part you said about my country was completely wrong and now I'm angry. And to them I say, quit bickering or no one gets tzatziki. Oh my god, I forgot Thai. I forgot every country that Jimmy's from. Oh shit, I also forgot Native American. Oh no, that's not a country, we took it.
Fucked up. I have no idea what Native American cuisine is. Straight up, I have no idea. I never even considered it until this moment. Holy shit. Salmon and bannock. Maize? Corn? Okay, I don't like that. I mean, I like corn, but I don't like... Fry bread is the greatest ever. Is heavily corn and plant-based. I don't eat fucking fish. I don't eat seafood. They vary widely depending on the region. Considering there's thousands of tribes, that's a broad comment. True. It's really sad that it's not well known. Native American can be seen as offensive. People should use indigenous. I mean, I use it interchangeable.
This is me eating bison ribs smothered in a spicy blueberry barbecue sauce. Whoa! And something mouth-wateringly incredible called a posu bowl. And a fry bread taco.
What the
all these foods have
Bro, what is fucking fry bread, dude? That is... Okay, that's dank.
in common? They're Native American cuisine, the cuisine of the indigenous people of this land. Made with ingredients you could once only find here and nowhere else. Made by people who were here before colonists like this guy, and children of immigrants like me. Hi, my name's Yara, and if you've seen me before, you probably know that I take great enjoyment in eating things.
Delicious lamb fat.
Before I made this video, I'd never eaten a legit Native American meal made by the Native community, which is strange because I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's pretty cosmopolitan here. I've eaten Burmese, Indian...
No, that's literally why you've never had it, brother. It's because San Francisco... Are there even fucking any natives that are in like 100-mile radius of the metro area? Because like they're all fucking priced out, dude. That shit is way too expensive, dude. Way too expensive, dude. What is it? What's the tribe there? The Ohlone tribe? Maybe in like Oakland? You've never had fry bread? No, man. I'm fucking... listen, one thing that I think Native Americans don't know, but like immigrants don't really have like a close association with Native American tribes or anything like that, where like, because you got to seek it out, and I've never been acquainted with any of that stuff at all, which is definitely a mistake, I think. Fried bread isn't just native, but native fried bread is exceptional.
Mexican, Russian, Korean, Japanese, Syrian, Peruvian, and Ethiopian food. But I'd never eaten at a native restaurant. I'd never even seen one. There are supposedly some 600,000 restaurants in the US, but barely any of them, National Geographic says a handful, are Native American. When a lot of people think of native cuisine, they think of Thanksgiving food or fry bread, which are definitely a thing.
Wait, is Thanksgiving food Native American food? I didn't even know that.
But when I went on a road trip through the American Southwest with my co-producer Tabish,
Santa Fe!
I realized that it's so much more than that. Like, so much more than that. So what is native cuisine today? What did it used to be? And why don't we see more of it on every street corner?
Okay, bro, skip the shit. All right.
To show you, we're gonna start our story here.
Bro, motherfucker had to travel to Colorado to get Native American food. No wonder I don't know what it's like or have ever had it, dude. Jesus. It's crazy. Freaking crazy.
Colorado.
BRB, let me just go to Colorado to get Native American food.
With very little sleep.
We just drove for 8.5 hours. The redness of my eyes.
So we are going to Tocape, which is a Native American restaurant.
And that's where we met Ben.
We're very late.
He's a member of the Osage Nation. In 2008, he and his business partner Matt opened their first restaurant, and now they have 2 locations and a food truck. So they give us a behind-the-scenes look at what their food's like.
We are in the kitchen.
Oh my God, something is on fire. Wow.
So we are setting what on fire?
Cedar. We need to burn down a little bit more into ash,
Okay.
and then we're gonna mix it in that blue corn. We're gonna make blue corn mush. We'll get some water and we'll have to move to the stove. So this is the most important part, watching it come to a boil.
I'm stirring the water.
If this is not that exciting, we can do something else.
Oh.
This is way more exciting than watching water boil. We cook them in a bison stock that we make, so it really is the flavor of the animal.
And we covered them in this incredible, like seriously incredible, spicy blueberry barbecue sauce.
Ooh.
I've never tasted anything like this in my life. Spicy, it's blueberry, it's barbecuey.
And then when you put it on the bison rib, the richness of the bison rib with the berry blends really, really well. We cut it right on the grill. Your knife just goes right down and it just glides past.
Nice.
All right, oh my God, okay. So I grew up in a restaurant.
Just go all the way through.
Oh, no.
Your interview has come to an end.
And then we put it all together.
Oh, beautiful.
So this is a ojapi, like a Northern Plains berry jam, you could say.
That's beautiful. Look at those colors. Shall we? Dude, you're killing me.
Is it good?
First with the sauce, now with this.
Let's try the ribs. Man, the texture of the meat, that sauce. Okay, I'm just gonna take this.
I was gonna say, I was about to have a bite. All together now.
But there was more.
So today we're gonna make our posu bowl.
Okay.
We're gonna do a base of the wild rice.
Yeah, this is like native inspired, right? There's a little bit of cuisine in there. I mean, fusion in there.
Black beans or pinto beans, do you have a preference? Shredded bison.
Yes.
Hominy.
Like they're native owned, native inspired, but it's not like authentic, isn't it? It seems a little fusiony.
It's white puffy corn, cranberries, cilantro, red onions, yellow squash, zucchini, and jicama. Some green chilies. Elderberry vinaigrette.
Let's show the camera.
The idea for Tocape came up when Ben and Matt had this question.
Like, why is native cuisine not present outside of our community? So, you know, you can get it at home, you can get it at powwows, you can get it at community gatherings, but why is it not available on a daily basis?
So they made it available on a daily basis. And today, Tocape is one of the only Native American restaurant chains in America. I mean, I wish we could have shown you how they make their fry bread taco with bison, or their pozole soup with plump hominy,
or their sweet fry bread nuggets, and their slightly charred soft bread called bannock.
So good. Native cuisine has been around for thousands of years, but the food we had,
Bro, that bannock shit. Oh my
their
God.
pozole soup with plump hominy,
Or their sweet fry bread nuggets, and their slightly charred
Oh, fuck.
soft bread called bannock.
So good. Native cuisine has been around for thousands of years, but the food we had at Tokabe, that's something totally new. Native food professionals are taking ancestral ingredients and combining and preparing them in new ways around the country.
You know, we're the oldest cultures on this land, but in many ways we have the youngest cuisine. And the reason for that is it's not clearly defined outside of like our communities.
But how did this new Native American cuisine come about? And what exactly makes it, well, Native American? For that, I've got to rewind and tell you how we ended up here. Our journey actually started in New Mexico.
Welcome to Albuquerque.
This airport is so festive.
We're here to cook with a master of Southwest Native American cuisine who's a chef slash photographer slash PhD.
Dang! We are on our way to Santa Fe tonight. There are Chili's next to our hotel room. What? We are here to interview Lois Ellen Frank.
Hey!
Lois is part of the Kiowa Nation on her mom's side and Sephardic Jewish on her dad's side. She owns a catering company specializing in Native cuisine, and she runs it with Chef Walter Whitewater, who's from the Navajo Nation. Together, they host exclusive dinners showcasing a unique take on ancient recipes. Recipes Lois included in her award-winning cookbook.
Native American cuisine has
Fuck, Elizabeth Warren did that too.
evolved over 10,000 years.
And it's super diverse. There are over 570 federally recognized tribes in the US, each hailing from different regions. Tribes in the Great Plains might have eaten bison and choke cherries. In the East, they consumed wild turkeys, turtles, and other small game. And those in the Pacific Northwest had access to multiple types of salmon and wild onions. But despite that diversity, Lois has categorized thousands of years of Native American cuisine into 4 distinct historical periods. The first is the pre-contact period, which is
all the foods that existed before contact with any other culture group outside of Native people.
That includes all the food natives hunted, gathered, grew, and traded on their own before the European invasion.
And that would be the basis, the foundation for Native American cuisine. So wild game,
and
what I call the magic 8. So corn, beans, squash, chili, tomato, potato, vanilla, and cacao. Inherently American. Does that mean that corn didn't exist outside of the Americas in 1491? Yes. Beans, squash didn't exist outside of the Americas. The Italians didn't have the tomato. The Irish didn't have the potato. The Russians, they didn't have vodka or potato. Half the British national dish, fish and chips, did not exist. No chilies in any Asian cuisine, in any East Indian cuisine. And the French had no confection using vanilla or chocolate.
So many dishes that are familiar to you and me, chicken tikka masala, spaghetti and meatballs, Thai green curry, wouldn't exist as you know them without Native American ingredients. Which brings us to the next period.
So we have cuisine that's old, diverse, sophisticated, delicious, and then we have this contact
with the Europeans.
All right, let's just focus on the Spanish influence, and we can say, well, they brought horses, guns, disease, and rats. Okay, but we don't eat those. They brought domesticated animals, sheep, pork, beef, chickens, and the byproducts of those animals. If you think about Native Americans, most of us are lactose intolerant. We ate wild game. Do you think you could get close enough to an elk to milk it?
After a few centuries of this food exchange, Native ingredients spread throughout the world. But as that happened, Native Americans were being robbed of their land.
Millions and millions of immigrants were coming to the United States. And maybe that's a good thing for the immigrants, but not such a good thing for Native people.
These new settlers really, really wanted land. And they pillaged, plundered, and killed natives and burned down their towns to get their hands on it. The US government played a massive role too. They even passed something called the Indian Removal Act. And one of the biggest atrocities they committed came to be known as the Trail of Tears. Starting in the 1830s, tens of thousands of natives in the Southeast were forced to march thousands of miles in harsh conditions. Thousands upon thousands died. Those that survived were confined to a designated Indian territory, right around here. And over the next few decades, even more tribes were crammed into this space.
My tribe is evicted and moved to Indian territory.
And the land the US government confined them to, little by little, even that was seized by the settlers. Other tribes were being forced onto plots of land called reservations as a way to control them. Once there, they couldn't hunt, gather, or grow traditional foods.
Literally the history of every colonial empire. And of course, the difference here between, like, I don't know, talking about this, like, the Ottoman Empire and its rise, or like the sacking of Constantinople, or whatever, the conquest of Constantinople, whatever you want to call it. The difference there is those are two massive forces. Those are two imperial forces fighting against one another. Okay? Whereas in this circumstance, you have settlers coming in and brutalizing the indigenous population that is not as advanced in technology, similar to what happened in Africa, for example, with the Gatling gun versus with what happened in terms of indigenous genocide in America. Are you Greek or something? No, I'm not Greek. No, people try to fucking make this comparison when they talk about, like, colonial expansion. They often say, like, oh, well, you know, no country has ever fucking been, no country has ever developed itself without, like, replacing or murdering, wholesale doing genocide to the indigenous population. Wrong. Even if there are countries that have formed, it's never as disproportionate as, like, what we recognize to be as indigenous genocide with what the United States of America did in its foundation, or with, like, it's like German barbarians fighting against fucking the Roman Empire, or pushing away Roman expansion. Is not the fucking same as or like Saxons and Danes fighting one another is not the same as, like, literally just wholesale eviscerating the native population by using weapons and just fucking owning them.
It's like they used to. This is when a lot of native cuisine was lost.
Whenever you're displaced, you lose traditional knowledge surrounding where you've been living for thousands of years. What foods grow, what animals are there, when to plant, when to harvest.
Now, native people were living on unfamiliar land, forced to live without the resources they used to have.
So the government steps in and issues commodity foods, starvation foods, army rations to keep them alive, barely. We call this the government issue. The government issued foods for survival.
These were ingredients like flour, lard, coffee, and sugar. Foods that were completely different from what natives were used to, with far less nutritional value than their own traditional cuisine.
Out of this period, fry bread's born. And so fry bread is an interesting native food, an imposed government food that we use for survival. Those elders, if they didn't come up with this bread, maybe they would have perished. But it also represents colonization.
That history is why some native chefs use fry bread and others don't. And that brings us to the last period, the one we're in now. It's what Lois calls new Native American cuisine.
Now, native chefs around the United States are classically trained, equal to their European counterparts, and we are choosing what ingredients from what.
You shouldn't characterize the Native Americans living in idyllic savagery. Did I say any of those things? Before the arrival of Euros is patronizing, wrong, and problematic as fuck. There were absolutely clashes of states during westward expansion. Americans just refused to abide by their own treaties. That's not what I said. But obviously, technological achievement is part of the reason why they were able to fucking wipe out a big chunk of it. Disease played a structural oppression played a really huge role. Disease played a really huge role. But ultimately, it's still guns. Okay, it's guns. Like, it's reductive, but technological differences plays a functional, a huge role, I would say, in colonial expansion. I already said disease. And that guy for saying Native Americans are savages, he didn't say Native Americans are savages. He was criticizing others and the very common interpretation of the idyllic savages that Native Americans are in the eyes of American history. That person is probably Native themselves. Chill the fuck out. How do you misunderstand what they were saying? He's saying you shouldn't characterize Native Americans as living in idyllic savagery. He's saying that that's usually the most common fucking interpretation. Disease played a larger role than guns for much longer than... Disease played a larger role than guns for much longer than guns did. Every Native group either figured out how to fight against guns, armed armies, or got guns of their own. Not Native, by the way. Okay, never mind. He's not Native. I colonized my neighbor's house because he didn't have a PS5. I'd say it's more disease than guns. Guns, realistically, aren't that much of an advantage. Settler colonialism is moderately different to imperial colonialism. Africa was never fully demographically colonized like America, only politically conquered. Regardless, they misunderstood what I was trying to say. Guns and disease, but mostly disease. If disease didn't wipe out most Aztecs, they would have bodied the Spanish. The armies they could field pre-European contact were on par with some of the largest pre-gunpowder armies fielded in Europe and Asia. Would you compare being the indigenous people of lack of technology in today's world, third world countries, Middle East? Also, all in all, Smith and Wesson. Wait, what? Lack of technology isn't the reason why the Middle East is not as advanced in some ways as like the Western empires are. That's just the consequence of war, dude. At a time when at a time when fucking everyone in Europe was dying because they didn't know how to fucking wipe their asses, like the Muslim nations of the world were living through their golden age and accelerating technology, like preserving Greek text, advancing medicine. Like, the fuck are you talking about? It changes throughout time. Again, we are lost in our incredibly narrow, incredibly human, narrow framework of time. Our understanding encompasses barely 100+ years, our understanding of history. To assume that, like, to assume that the West has been leading the world for as long as it has is so fucking silly. That is a relatively new phenomena in comparison to the grand scheme of history. Anyway, he was asking what is the comparative in today's conflict in the Middle East, the difference in tech? No, it's not the difference in tech at this point. What I'm talking about is guns, germs, and steel is a bit of a pseudo-historical misinterpretation because I understand the argument you're making. It's reductive. But, like, I already admitted that. The repeating guns changed the dynamics of war. The Native American rider could kill faster and more accurately with a bow and arrow. Like, in Africa, what is the gun? Like, the Maxim machine gun is the Maxim gun is such a significant development on pre-existing technology that it played a significant role in colonizing African nations and tribes. No, I was Googling it. Sorry. The Maxim gun. The automatic weapon. By the way, natives were savages. The word literally means people who don't get formal education, but by traditions. If you think it has a bad meaning, it's the result of urban supremacy. Okay, guys, stop being... The wokeness has gotten to a point where, like, the woke people are out-woking one another in ways that I didn't even fucking know. Okay? Middle Eastern countries say most of math, history, and philosophy and used their dope number system. Yeah, algebra. They basically keep manuscripts otherwise lost in the fire at Alexandria. Yeah. Anyway. So, So to assume, as I was saying, to assume that culture is built by a singular nation or by a one territory is pathetic, idiotic, and also ahistorical. That's why this like whole notion of white supremacist or Western supremacist idealism is some silly bitch shit. It's like childish. It's completely childish. And yet so many people who fancy themselves to be intellectuals oftentimes repeat this sort of nonsensical and idiotic and childish perspective. It's a baby brain thing to say. Kind of reductive, but Jared Diamond's book of GGS is specifically referring that Europeans have a huge advantage in colonizing the world because they are relatively more immune to diseases. That being said, I'm still biased in this because I'm a geographer, and I still kind of think environmental determinism could be a major factor of colonial expansion in the New World. Okay. Okay, let's keep
Period.
going.
We want to put it in our menus. I can construct menus from any of those periods, all of those periods, and the way we present them are very new.
So we helped them prep for one of their big events.
What are we making today?
Roasted chilies.
From stuffing
That looks
spices
great.
inside of it.
Ooh.
It needs a starch because that holds together. I use quinoa. The native people always tell you, like, don't cook it when you're angry, you know, or you'll make the food bitter.
Native people a long time ago devised this method of charring chilies because when you char a chili, you bring the oil out. So the oil is the medicine and the oil is the flavor.
I'm just filling my little boat with with goodies.
Bro.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm sorry, but this is literally Turkish food and Mexican food. And this corresponds to what my grandfather, who has this like insane fucking theory that Native Americans are Turks. I've talked about this before, but that food is literally exactly the same. Kan ni örük yaptı abi herifler.
What are we making?
Stuffed trout.
So this is sage from the garden.
Havostu abi, havostu.
This is probably the first ancestral oven. We're gonna roll it in corn husk, which I call the Native American aluminum foil.
You're mummifying this.
And then we're gonna wrap it in clay. Once it's in clay,
Oh no, you ripped it.
it would have been put into the fire, but the clay protects it, steaming it. Beautiful, beautiful.
And then the guests arrived, and Lois gave them an important history refresher.
It's always about who's telling the story. So if Native people got on boats and went to Europe, Europe would be the New World.
And then we ate.
Yeah. How's the food?
I think Derek has a good reaction.
How was it?
It was amazing. There was so much complexity and depth to all the flavors. Everything that was on this table tonight blew my mind.
Oh, and I almost forgot.
Does anyone want to experience the cracking? Isn't that amazing? And really what we've done is we've created an ancient oven. It smells amazing. It does smell amazing.
I think I made that one.
So in some instances, you're going to have to be a little more aggressive. So you can actually see the herbs right inside.
No, it's not my uncle.
Amazing plant.
It's not my uncle who says this. It's my grandfather who says this. The old world roots of the Cherokee: How DNA, Ancient Alphabets, and Religion Explain the Origins of America's Largest Indian Nation by Donald N. Yates. I've seen this before, where they like look at haplogroups and shit. But the reason why my grandfather says this is because like Havasu, right? Havasu means Havasu, which is two Turkish words, which like it's just dumb like pseudoscience shit. Okay, Havasu means air and water. Su means water, Hava means air. So he thinks like there's like a couple. There's a lot of words in Native American in like Native American language that is very similar to Turkish. Was your grandfather a Mormon? No. Are we talking mud flood alt history stuff? No, it's fucking not true. Kızılderililer Türkmüş. Aynen. It's in Arabic too. Yeah, Jank's dad. Okay, hold on. I gotta
We can
pee.
use the husk, we can use the cobs, and we can use the kernels. A very native way of thinking is zero waste. What's the sauce? This is a guajillo chili. Look how beautiful. It's moist, it's steamed.
I didn't just want to attend an event, eat the food, and move on. I wanted to know more about the people behind that food and their history. So Walter was kind enough to invite us to the Navajo Nation, where he grew up. So we packed our bags and said goodbye to the hotel. After a long drive, we ended up in a place called Canyon de Chelly.
It's all there. It's all right there, the voice.
Oh, that is phenomenally beautiful.
Canyon de Chelly is a sacred site for the Navajo, especially because of the towering spider rock. Legend has it, the rock was home to Spider Woman, who taught the Navajo the art of weaving. But the canyon's walls are also etched with a tragic story of hurt and pain.
This land and your connection to it. What happened here 150 years ago?
People took the long walk.
In the 1860s, thousands of Navajos and some Apaches were violently removed from their lands. They were forced to march to what was essentially a concentration camp in southeastern New Mexico.
I believe they called it the New Mexico Trail of Tears. Everything was taken away from us.
Hundreds of Navajo died during the long walk. They were starved and raped and shot if they couldn't keep up. That included pregnant women and the elderly. And the story at Canyon de Chelly, a Navajo stronghold, was particularly horrifying. The American military carried out a scorched earth campaign. They slaughtered the Navajo's sheep, burned their crops, and starved them until they surrendered.
When they seen that their crops, their animals being destroyed, taking that long walk without food and water, when that happened, when everything is taken away from you, it shatters everyone, you know?
The Navajo eventually arrived at the camp, but the land wasn't fit for farming and hunting was difficult there. They had no choice but to abandon their ancestral foods and survive off of nutritionally poor US military food rations. As a result, over 2,000 of them died of disease and starvation. Eventually, the US government released those that survived. But like other tribes, they were then confined to a reservation, which has today become the Navajo Nation. These forced removals of Native people were guided by a racist ideology known as Manifest Destiny, that somehow this land belonged to white settlers, and only white settlers, through some sort of divine order.
Even to this day, some of the old people talk about what happened and how we're gonna carry on our traditional ways that we used to have.
So much of Native culture was passed down by word of mouth. But being robbed of their land, their way of life, being killed and forced onto reservations, that led to the loss of a lot of cultural traditions, including culinary ones. The repercussions of that brutal colonial past are apparent as soon as you drive onto the reservation. Not only is there a severe lack of Native restaurants here, there's, well, a severe lack of everything food related. The Navajo Nation is a food desert. There are only about 10 grocery stores in the entire area of nearly 28,000 square miles. And 80% of the foods in those stores have little to no nutritional value. Driving around the reservation, it's hard to find much else besides fast food. Native people's traditional diets have been decimated by years of colonization, and this has led to extremely high rates of obesity and diabetes. Today, Native Americans are twice as likely to get diabetes as someone who's white. And that's why, for Walter, helping others from his community reconnect with their culinary traditions is so important.
If you don't pass it, it's gonna go away. They always tell us, hang on to your root, hang on to what you have. Little that I can, always pass it down to whoever that